You stupid bitch. Yeah, you're a stupid bitch. You stupid bitch.
Welcome to another episode of Stupid Bitches Say What, the Aussie podcast about everything and nothing, but always with wine. And your hosts, Sean Hipkins and Skye Lee Collette.
This week we are going into the world of pop culture. Skye is going to give us a rundown on the history of living legend Ricki Lake. Go Ricki,
Go Ricki,
Ricki,
go Ricki.
go Ricki. The talk show queen who dominated the 90s and who also had a successful career in acting and or singing. While I cover the staircase, the newly released miniseries covering, God, I've got to slow down, the mysterious death of Kathleen Peterson and her number one suspect, her husband, Michael, starring Toni Collette and Colin Firth. Oh, it is Toni Collette, that one.
She's Colette. I'm
That's
Collette.
Right.
This is spelled very differently to my name.
Hence the E.
Yes.
What's it about? Well, listen in and find out. What's that big old glass you've got there full of, Skye?
Oh, look, I'm getting stuck into it because we've had technical difficulties for the last hour. And
what we do for the craft, I tell you.
Now I'm just sculling this bad boy because I'm slightly frustrated.
It's a heavy pint, I must say.
It's a heavy pint in my Stupid Bitches Say What glass. It's just a little one from the local. I had to run down. I really need to order a case of Naked Wines. I haven't felt like I've drunk this before. It's Wildflower, Sauvignon Blanc, Western Australia, 2021. It's got a pretty flowers on there. Can you see with a lady in shorts?
And I like the name Wildflower.
Yeah, I like it. I'm a sucker for a pretty bottle, I must say.
You are.
As long as it's in my range of amounts that I'm willing to spend, of course.
That works. And it tastes?
It's okay. It's doable.
Well, I'm going to just say, and again, we did not discuss this earlier, but I'm also drinking a Western Australian grape tonight.
Great minds think alike, please.
They do indeed. And because it's only a one episode podcast this week, I've allowed myself to have a full-bodied wine, full calories, full alcoholic limit. And I've just realized, and I do not know how this has happened, I've got that much left in the bottle. So there's about like a quarter and that much in my glass. So it's been a while since I've had a red and it's going down a treat.
So you've drunk your way through almost a bottle while you were waiting for me to fix out technical difficulties.
It's like, when you eat
Skype,
a pie.
by the way, for the record.
Yeah.
Fuck Skype.
The quality is so much better already, and the sound.
And Zoom for charging us and only having a video worth 40 minutes.
Yeah, no, 40 minutes, bastards. But this is Alcumi, and it's from the Franklin River, and it's in 2019 Shiraz.
Alcumi, that's an unusual name. Oh, okay. Let's see.
I'm going to sneeze. It's not COVID.
Both have the sneezes, haven't we?
It's hay fever.
So I was just going to say something and I've completely lost it. What I was going to say is, how does it taste, love?
It's actually quite nice. And clearly it's going down a tree. I can't believe it's like, when people would have a pie in front of them and they eat it, or a block of chocolate, and you go to grab that last piece and you're like, holy fuck, I've eaten the whole fucking thing.
Yes.
It's kind of like that with this wine. But yeah, no, it's tasty. So how's your week been?
So my week's been good. Still getting over the dreaded flu and influenza. You can hear it in my voice, I think. Work's been a bit crazy because it's end of financial year. But what I really wanted to talk about tonight is that I saw this amazing movie, and I texted you last night when I was watching it.
Yes.
And I just loved it. And
is this one that involved Suddenly Seymour?
Yes, it did.
Wow.
So I had a huge girl crush on Jenny Slate. If you don't know who Jenny Slate is,
I'm Googling her now.
She plays a lot of bit parts. So she's John Ralphio's sister in Parks and Recs. The crazy sister that goes out with goes out with Tom. And she's excellent.
Not sure I'm up to her yet.
She
I haven't watched it for a while.
So she made a film called something Child. Now what is it? One Child.
Yeah, I've got her in the Google.
Yeah.
Let me check. Oh no, I'm still back on Marcel the Shell. Jenny.
Well, she's the voice behind Marcel the Shell.
Oh,
that's why I made you watch it. So she does the voice for Marcel the Shell.
She's very good as the voice.
She also went out with Chris Evans. Obvious Child, that's it. So that's quite a good film. She went out with Chris Evans, the Marvel Captain America.
Lucky bitch.
Yeah, she's married to someone else now. But she also, her claim to fame is that she only ever did one season of Saturday Night Live, because on her first debut episode, so she got cast in Saturday Night Live, I'm going to say 2017, I don't know.
Right.
And she said fuck live on air, because you know how it's taped live. And she accidentally, during the skit, and they obviously rehearse it, and if you see the skit, you can see it's the kind of skit that you could quite easily say fucking. So, and they reckoned there was a lot of rumors going around that she got sacked after that first season because she said fuck, but she claims it just wasn't a good fit. But you don't really see them like, usually they come and they do a couple of seasons. You don't really see them come for one season.
One turnaround. And if that is the reason, it's bullshit. And because you know that if a man had said fuck or slipped out the word fuck, it would have been fine.
But they'd
still be there for another 3 seasons.
I went looking for a bunch of her skits, and there's not a lot that I could find. To be fair, I didn't go on YouTube. I just went on the internet just quickly this afternoon because I wanted to prepare a little bit more, because I'm absolutely crushing on her. I'm just in love with her. I think she's amazing. But she does some really funny skits. Every skit that she's in that I found, I thought was hilarious. I was wetting myself laughing. So it's worth a bit of a deep dive.
What was the movie?
So the movie was, now I have to bring up my notes because I've had all these bloody technical difficulties and I don't have my notes.
You wouldn't believe it, listeners at home.
You would.
We've had to dial into Skype about 7 times. We've had to hotspot. We've had to Wi-Fi. We've had to close down cameras and computers, and back to good old Zoom, which now doesn't let you record longer than 40 minutes, fuckers.
So it's a movie called I Want You Back. And guess who plays the other? She's the lead character. Guess who plays the other lead character?
Is it a man or a woman?
A man.
Chris Pratt.
No, it's Charlie Day.
Oh,
yes.
The singer.
The guy from It's Always Sunny in
Oh,
Philadelphia.
yes, of course.
Show.
I was thinking Charlie Puth.
And he is so great in it. They are both so great. So then the other actresses in it is the chick from Jane the Virgin. I don't know her name.
Oh, yes, another one.
Scott Eastwood, Clint Eastwood's son, the good-looking one.
He is quite attractive.
So the premise is that both Jenny Slate and Charlie Day get broken up with around the same time, and they work in the same building, and she's crying in the stairwell, and he comes across her, and they've both been broken up at the same time, and they form a bit of a bond, and they become friends. And then they realise they start stalking their ex-partners' Instagrams, and they both moved on with other partners, and they both got their hearts broken. They decide to hatch a plan where they're going to break the partners up with their new partners. So they're going to try to win them back. So he's going to try to win her boyfriend back for her by being her current boyfriend's friend, and she's going to seduce the new boyfriend of his girlfriend, break them up so she comes back.
But I bet they end up getting together themselves.
Look, it's quite obvious. But the whole film is so great. Like Tyler and I just absolutely loved it. We just thoroughly enjoyed it. And
is there singing in it?
There is, only because the Charlie Day's character, his girlfriend who breaks up with him, she's a middle school English teacher. And she breaks up with him because she says, they want different things, yada, yada, yada. And he finds out the next day that she is dating the middle school drama teacher. And he's doing a production of Little Shop of Horrors. And so Jenny Slade's character he was asking for volunteers on Instagram, parent volunteers, but she shows up and dresses in her most, sexiest outfit and says, I was Audrey in a high school production. She wasn't.
Yeah.
And then she says, I just want to, be involved in the theatre, and I've got time on my hands and I'm going to help out. And that's her way of seducing it. But the play plays a big part in it, and she ends up like performing in the play, and she gets obsessed with the Suddenly Seymour song, and she's singing it.
I'm just thinking, I didn't even use that as one of my musicals, should I? And it's one of my most fave.
But after the musical special, you made me see you made me watch countless videos
renditions.
Of Suddenly
the OG chick.
So it's burned deep into my brain,
You're
lyrics
welcome.
of that song.
You are very, very welcome.
So when it happened, I was like, oh my God, I know this song quite well.
Fucking Beano.
And that's what I was saying about you last night to Tyler. I was like, oh my God, Beano's going to die when I tell him that Suddenly Seymour's in this movie. Plus, it's got Charlie Day in it.
And what streaming platform did you watch it on?
Oh, shit. What did we watch it on? We watched it on Prime, I think.
Prime Video.
But I have a feeling it's on Netflix too. It wouldn't be hard to, because I think they're all promoting it at the moment because it's just come out.
Right.
But so funny. Oh, it was hilarious. We were just laughing our heads off all the way through it. Such a great film. So you should watch it. You will love it.
Good. Well, I was able to get Vinny pretty much hooked on Little Shop of Horrors just through the various renditions of Suddenly Seymour that I made him watch when we were drunk.
Look, I don't want to offend you, but my girl crush on Jenny Slate has actually made me want to watch it way more than any of the other things that you've done to try to influence me. Now I'm really obsessed with watching it, and I really want to watch it.
I thought you were going to say that you thought she did a better job than the original Audrey, and I was going to say, yeah, you've offended me. Okay, cool. Well, I'm definitely going to watch it because Charlie Day, I love, and Suddenly Seymour, I love.
I know, it's two of your favorite things, right? And I was like, and Charlie Day is the best. At the end, I was like, oh my God, I love him so much. And I'm now
he's quite a singer too.
But Tyler came out of it being more obsessed with Scott Eastwood than anything else. He loved them both. He loved the whole movie, but he was like, I'm just obsessed with Scott Eastwood. I think he's a great actor. So then we went on to watch Wrath of Man, which is another great film.
But that's a bit of a change from fucking a musical comedy, isn't it?
I had seen Wrath of Man before, so I know how it went. Tyler hadn't seen it. I'd taken Nan to see because she loves all the action films.
Nothing gruff. Yeah, very good. And I was saying to you before, I just saw I got a email through from Disney Plus saying that Spider-Man's moving to Disney. When we were talking about Marvel last week. Well, yeah, 2 weeks ago. So that'll be good. I'm looking forward to seeing the new Spider-Man movie. I haven't seen that yet.
Oh, see, I've seen the new one, but I haven't seen the first two, but I'll watch them because Tyler
they're quite good.
Me.
I quite enjoyed them.
But when I spoke to you last week, when we did our last podcast, we talked about the Marvel Universe. I don't think I'd done Shang-Chi and the Eternals. So we've done them now. We just did them during the week. Yeah. So we did Shang-Chi, which was actually really, really good. I really enjoyed it. Another one I wasn't really excited to see because I thought it's too kung fu-y for me. It's not really my thing. Loved it. And then the Eternals. The Eternals was a bit weird in places, but had lots of really good characters in it. Lots of good casting.
Yeah, I thought the same with Eternals. Like, it's enjoyable and I liked it. And there was parts that I liked about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's a gay superhero in there, isn't there? There's a gay.
Oh, yes.
One of them is gay.
Fastos.
Yes.
The guy that's good with the technology.
Yes. So, of course, I was like into that. I was hoping it was going to be the other guy who's from Elton John's biopic Rocket Man and Game of Thrones.
Which one? The one who was the main guy or the one who was Jon Snow? Because they were both in the Game of Thrones.
No, yeah. So the guy that was in... So he wasn't Jon Snow. It was the guy who gets killed at the Red Wedding.
Yes. The main character, one of the main characters. Oh, right. Yeah. I didn't know he was in the Elton John movie. I loved him. Yeah. I really like him. I was going to say something else about that, but I forgot what it was. I lost it. My brain's not working properly tonight, obviously.
I understand.
So how's your week been, Stu Bitch? We've just got a whole big rant about movies.
I'm not going to lie, Mama's tired tonight.
I'm tired. You can see, I'm looking at this camera and I'm looking at my face and I'm like, God, you look weary, girl.
Yeah, it's been a big week. It's been a big week. We've got our official premiere tomorrow. White Arrow, Mission Denied. So for those at home, Vinny, my husband, and I had the opportunity to act in a short movie. It was meant to be a 15-minute movie originally. It's now a 30-minute premiere. And from what I've heard, it's going to be a trilogy. So we're very excited. So this first one is White Arrow, Mission Denied. And it's about two Mormons, but they're not from the Church of Latter-day Jesus. What is it? Latter-day of Jesus Christ. It's
you're telling that story, bro. I don't know.
Every day, Jesus Christ. But basically, we're Mormons, and we get sent on our mission to White Arrow Island, where we meet the person that we're meant to preach to, and things go awry.
Because you went to Bribey Island for it, didn't you? Did you go to
Lamb Island?
Lamb Island.
Yeah, so filmed on location in Lamb Island. And yeah, no, it's been good. So all week we've been sort of just finishing shit ready for that. So did a big shop for our outfits. It's going to be photographers. It's premiering at the Elizabeth Street Theatre tomorrow night. We've got over 100 people attending, which is going to be very exciting. And there's going to be some merch there, some mugs and fridge magnets.
I love a bit of merch.
Yeah, so I'll post the preview or the trailer of the film to our socials, just so people can get an idea. But yeah, hopefully it'll go down well. We haven't seen the finished product. We did filming in December and January, and since then they've just been doing the editing and the sound and the full production of the actual movie itself. So it'll be great to see it instead of just seeing shorts or outtakes. Seeing the finished product, and it's of course seeing it with our friends and everything like that.
Quite proudly told people at work during meetings all week that I'm going to a big movie premiere where my best friends are the stars, and everyone's like, "What? Who are they?" And I'm like, "Oh, like it's not like a,
it's my co-host."
It's not like a movie that's gonna go at the cinema or anything. It's like
yeah.
And they're like, oh, at first, because I was plugging it like so enthusiastically, they're like, oh, you've got like a really famous friend. I'm like, yeah, I think he's famous. In my eyes, he's famous.
Yeah, amongst our friends, they're famous. It's funny though, because the guy that Brett Murray, who did the screenplay and the directing of it, he wants to turn it into a comic book series as well, and he's a bit of an artist.
Cool.
So he's asked us if we're allowed to be. He's happy for us to be drawn in the comic book series, and we're like, 100%.
Stop it! That is awesome.
Yeah. So, and then our other friends Samantha and Kim, who are listeners of the podcast. Sam was a producer, and Kim did all the editing for it. It's been hours going through and editing and piecing it all together. So it's been good in the sense that it's been a sort of a community production as well. And I think they're going to look at entering it into some competitions and
they so should. Of course, that's what you do. You make a small film and you put it in all the small film competitions and
see what happens.
Exactly, it's very exciting. Oh, I can't wait! I can't believe it's come so quickly, and it's just.
I know. Well, this time in 24 hours, it'll be done and dusted, and we'll be at the pub.
I know, and we've got such a crew coming as well. Like there's so many people going.
We do. It's going to be good.
I've ordered a maxi. I've got it all happening at my place. Everyone's coming here to get the maxi to get there in time. And I'm like, you need to be here at 2:30, okay, people? 2:30. Maxi's coming at 3.
Did you see that? Danielle, one of our other friends, posted in the chat.
She knows Katrina.
Yeah, so she works with someone who was like, she must have been talking about what they're doing on the weekend, and he must have been like, well, I'm also going to a movie premiere. short film. Yeah, small world.
That is funny.
All right. So we're going into Ricki Lake territory.
Okay, let's do it.
I'm very excited to hear about this because I know obviously I was a massive Ricki fan back in the day with the talk shows.
I think we all
I do
were.
remember some of her movies.
It was
our generation, definitely.
Well, we were all, because it was like the Ricki Lake, it was the Jerry Springer era,
Phil Donahue.
Yeah.
And
what's some of the other ones? Oprah.
Sally Jesse
Sally
Raphael.
Jesse, that's who I was thinking. Sally. I feel like there's another one. Oh, Maury Povich. Remember Maury Povich?
Maury, Jesus. And the real father is.
I feel like Ricki Lake got a little bit like that in the end anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ricki Lake is an American actress, TV host, and producer, best known for her role as Tracy Turnblad in the 1988 film Hairspray. I kind of disagree with that. Like, she's totally known for being in Hairspray, but I think she's more well known for the Ricki Lake show. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%. But on the big screen, that was probably one of her biggest roles. Yeah.
Yeah, and she and I didn't have time to research what she played. She didn't reprise the original role, but she was in the most recent movie of
Oh, was she?
as well. I don't know who she
Travolta
played. Yeah, I don't know who she
Okay.
played.
Probably
she
a little
played the
cameo.
main one, obviously, but she
Yeah.
was in it. So she was born September 21 in 1968 in New York. She hosted her own talk show, Ricki Lake. Go Ricki, go Ricki,
Go Ricki,
go Ricki.
go Ricki.
And really, if you think about it, Ellen came out a lot longer after that. Remember,
She
Ellen
did.
was famous for dancing, but really, Ricki really started, didn't she? The whole
Yeah,
Go Ricki
and
thing.
everyone in the crowd used to do the whole "Go Ricki, go," and do the
Ricki.
washing machine. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Or the
whatever
Cabbage
that
Patch?
thing with the hands. I don't know. It seems like a washing machine. I don't know how you would call that a cabbage patch.
I think that's what they call it, the Cabbage Patch.
So we all thought that Ellen really did that. I remember when she started dancing and everything like that. At the
weird
beginning, it
dance.
was like
Yeah,
Ellen brought it out, but it really wasn't. Ricki started that.
she started that craze with the talk show
totally
hosts
did.
for sure. Sally Jesse Raphael certainly did not.
She went for a while though. That show went for ages.
She did.
So she also came back with the Ricki Lake show in 2012 for another season. It only lasted for a season though. She was nominated for an Emmy Award for Ricki Lake in 1994. And she won an Emmy for Outstanding Talk Show for the Ricki Lake Show in 2013. When the show debuted, Ricki Lake was 24 and credited as being the youngest person to host a syndicated talk show at the time. So considering the run of the show, which ran from 1993 to 2004, and then she had a revamp of it, like that's insane. She was so young to have her own talk show, considering what was out there in talk shows.
Well, Oprah especially, yeah.
Now, look, I have just pulled this from Wiki, the next bit that I did, play with words a little bit for my intro.
Hey, look, we don't judge where we get our research from.
Wiki understands.
Ricki gets it.
I give my donations to Wiki.
Yeah. Oh, do you?
I do. I always feel bad when they ask me because I use Wikipedia for so much. Like, not just the podcast. Like, I Wikipedia everything. It's just this thing that I do. And I know it's people committing information to Wikipedia. So I try to sometimes fact check things other ways as well, but Wikipedia is my base.
It's your go-to.
Yeah, it's my go-to.
Same.
So let's talk about the show. During the series run, its primary focus was on dealing with personal subjects like parenting skills, including single mothers who are accused of having the lack of experience of taking care of children, romantic relationships, LGBT issues,
remember that.
racism and prejudice, etc., etc. At times, she had lighter shows ranging from contests, including female impersonators, beauticians, those who wanted to prove that they had a talent, and she had celebrity guests and reunions, and she was granting personal wishes. I think that was the time when she did that, granted, like Ellen does a bit.
And Oprah, you get a car. Car.
A majority of the shows had surprises waiting in store for the guests, and I had forgotten about this part until I started researching it, which were revealed by a doorbell ringing if a guest didn't come clean about themselves. Do you remember that?
Right. Ding
Yeah.
dong. Yeah.
This prompted
and everyone be going, whoa,
who's
shit's
at the
going
door?
down. Yeah.
Ding dong.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this prompted Ricki to bring out another guest who knew the truth about the primary guest's intention. So it was usually like a little bit like, I'm cheating. I'm not cheating on my boyfriend. My boyfriend keeps accusing me of cheating on my boyfriend. I'm not cheating. And then they'd be like, I'm so sick of having this fight. He keeps accusing me of cheating on my boyfriend. And then
next minute, ding dong.
Ding dong.
Some stud walks through the door. I fucked her last night.
And if you think about Jerry Springer, it's a lot of the stuff was quite similar. It wasn't as crazy.
Jerry Springer was a bit more trash. Yeah,
it was trashy, but this was still trashy. This is still proper trash TV. But it was certainly one of those shows that we watched. And I think it was on as well when you got home from school too. Was it on when you got home from high school, like at 3 in the afternoon or 4 in the afternoon or something like that, and you just sit down and eat your bag of chips
and watch Ricki and chat. Go Ricki with your friends. Oh no, she didn't. Kick that trash to the curb.
So you'll also remember, I don't know if you do remember this, but she also struggled with all their weight problems. Do you remember that? Yes. She was always putting on 10 kilos, dropping 10 kilos, putting on 20 kilos, dropping 20 kilos. She talked quite openly on the show, I remember, about her struggles, with weight and how she was always on one diet or another. And I remember there was some times when she looked absolutely stunning. And look, I've always thought she was quite pretty. She, was always quite pretty, but definitely she yo-yoed up and down, and she blamed a lot of things about the show that had to do with that. And considering how long she was on the show for, it was a really, really long time. And she started at 24. She got married a couple of times during that. She had children during that. She's also, if you Google her now, one of her more recent claim to fame is that she did a documentary where her second child is included in the birth videos. And it's about, birth and stuff. I didn't really research that a lot. What I wanted to talk about, though, was the movies that she'd been in. Bino, Can you have a little bit of a stab about some popular films that she may have starred in?
Well, I do obviously remember The Hairspray, and I remember she was in Crybaby with Johnny Depp.
She was the pregnant sister.
Films. Yes, and they were both John Waters films. That's pretty much all I can recall off the top of my head, though.
So the reason I decided to do her is because in this episode of the podcast, do her.
She won.
Take that as you will. Is because I had recently seen her, and she was already on my list of possible podcast topics that I had thought about in the future. But I'd seen her in Mrs. Winterbourne, which has Brendan Fraser in it and Shirley MacLaine, and that is a really great film. It's a very old school film, like a lovey-dovey sort of
Sleepless
thing.
in Seattle type of thing.
Yeah, so if you're not into that, you might not
enjoy
it. But I had watched it as a teenager and then watched it with my niece and just thoroughly still enjoyed it and thought that it really held up. She's also in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I did not know that.
The movie, which we also talked about a couple of weeks ago in the podcast. She has a very small bit part. She is a waitress. But because I was watching it with my niece a couple of weeks ago, as soon as I saw her come into it, I was like, oh my God, that's Ricki Lake.
Yeah. So, I remember when you were saying about how she used to address LGBT issues in her talk show. And at the time I was very much in the closet, but I used to love it too, because I remember one episode she did this special where she had about 10 different people come up on the thing and they'd say, am I gay or am I not? And then it flipped to the next one, am I gay or am I not? And it was all these guys.
That's
and
quite
women.
Confronting.
It was, and people had to sort of guess, oh, that one's gay, oh, that one's definitely not gay, they're not gay, they're gay. And I remember watching it at the time, and it turned out they were all gay. And it was sort of showing.
You would have loved that. You would have been like,
did.
I'm surprised he's gay.
I'm glad he's gay.
I didn't see that coming.
I'm glad he's gay. I'm glad he's gay. I didn't care about him, but I'm glad that one's gay. But it was one of those things. As you said, it was mid-90s when we were watching this shit. And the
very different time was the mid-90s.
Very different time. And especially in Australia, when it came to homosexuality and all that stuff. So it was just one of those things where when it all came out like that, it just sort of gave a lot more normality, that there wasn't this stigma that a gay person is this prancing queen or, this butch biker.
Yes.
It's anybody, and the same with women too, actually. Yeah. So, and it was the same with women, where you didn't have to be a certain style of woman to actually be a lesbian.
Yes.
It was just all colors of the rainbow were in there. So that was pretty cool. And all of the things that she did with LGBT, because she was very pro LGBT, And you'd have the people in the audience too at that time that would react quite homophobically, which at the time was acceptable, I guess, or accepted, much more accepted in their reaction to transgender people and whatnot. But it was very groundbreaking in the way that they brought that to the forefront of people's attention. And, you know, those dickheads in the audience usually got booed and sent away, and the LGBT people got celebrated. But she also hit some very hard-hitting topics as well with children and all that stuff when it came down to abuse and whatnot. So yeah, no, she did a great job, and I could totally see why she survived so long as a talk show host.
Well, it's very interesting that you say that, and because I was going to cut this bit out, but there's this bit that I found, which is one of Lake's most memorable. My help, your help. Most. I still can't say that word. Someone said it on TV the other day, and I was like, and I was trying to sound it out because, like, I still can't get antidote, antidote. One of Lake's most memorable and controversial confrontations happened during the first season when she found herself dealing with Reverend Fred Phelps in a show that involved targeting anyone who carries the AIDS virus and why they deserve to die. Wow. Phelps and his followers from Westboro Baptist Church,
shithole,
Topeka, Kansas, had been picketing at funerals for AIDS victims across the United States, leading to several states to enact laws prohibiting or restricting groups from coming within a certain distance of the funerals. When Phelps and his son-in-law tried to take over the set, a furious and insulted Lake ordered the Phelps family to leave the studio. During the commercial break, the two were forced off the set by the producers and escorted out of the building by security. After Phelps died on March 19, 2014, Lake tweeted on her Twitter page that when he was on the show, he told her that she worshipped her rectum on camera, which led to Lake taking action off stage to force Phelps off the show after that remark.
Yeah, that's a horrible church. And like, that's what's so annoying about these people that are in those sort of segregations, whatever you call them, follow that shit, is that it's just full hypocrisy. It's all about Jesus and God, and you know what Christianity is meant to represent. And they're the ones that hold picket signs that say fags kill nations, gays die.
Or hang out at abortion clinics and be like, you know, murder and all that sort of shit.
horrible people. They're the devil, really.
Absolutely. Well, and you're right, she did take a real stance about that. Like, some of it was incredibly trashy, like my boyfriend's cheating on my best friend, and you know, I don't know who the father is, and yada yada yada. But yes, she definitely had.
And that's really calling out people for being trashy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it's sort of, and like, it got viewers, but it's sort of like she's not supporting it or anything. She's just like, you're a fuckhead.
Ding dong.
Yeah. Ricki calling.
And they'd be behind the door. Do you remember there was like a red door or something? They'd be behind the door.
I was going to say I thought it was
open.
pink or something, but it's probably
and
red.
then the ding dong, and then the door would open, and they'd be like.
And then you'd see the face of the person just going, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Well, that's my bit on Ricki Lake. Over to you, Sean. Let's talk about the staircase.
How funny, we both go into music, suspenseful music after that. All right, deal.
Weird suspenseful music that we went into too. Mine was like the Twilight Zone. I don't know what you were doing.
I was doing that. I was doing Doctor Who.
We're insane.
So the staircase.
Ooh, I'm excited.
So the most recent version of the staircase, and there's been a few, but this is a actual dramatized miniseries of it, is an 8-part miniseries and dramatization of the death of Kathleen Peterson, played by Toni, Collette, and the accused, her husband, Michael Peterson, who is played by Colin Firth.
Mm-hmm. I love Colin Firth. I love Toni Collette.
Both brilliant in this. And it's also got playing one of his sons, Arnold Schwarzenegger's son.
Stop. So you've actually seen the Colin Firth version?
Yeah.
Oh, see, it's only just come out though, hasn't it?
It's currently out now on Fox and Binge in full, so you don't have to undertake the painstaking process of waiting weekly for each episode, like Vinny and I did. That was quite frustrating. You know, when it's on Binge, you want to be able to binge.
Yeah.
But as I said, the story has been done in a number of formats through true crime specials that Vinny and I have seen, and more significantly in a French-produced but English-speaking documentary that was filmed soon after Michael's indictment. So when he was
I've read a bit about
charged.
it. I haven't seen the documentaries, but I knew that you'd seen one of the documentaries, but I didn't realize that you'd seen the newest show.
Yes, only just recently finished, like last week or this week was the last episode that we'd seen it on. So yeah, and the camera crews, when they were filming the documentary, were given access to the accused extended family, Mahath, the defense attorneys, and the courtroom, and it turned it into I think it was like an 8-part documentary series in 2005. But in 2012, there was a 2-hour follow-up series of 2 episodes that was added to the document. What do you call it? Not document. Documentary. And that was during the period of time.
He has drinking a whole bottle of red, and he's on a challenge, and he's got no carbs in his little tiny body. Okay?
I do not. I had some brown rice today, at least.
He's maggot.
And that was during that the 2-part addition to it was during the period of time when Peterson was released from prison pending a retrial. And then again in 2016, they did another 3-episode follow-up, documenting Peterson's final trial. And so it's now a 13-episode documentary that's now available on Netflix. We've seen it. Yeah, we've seen the documentary, the TV specials, and obviously most recently the dramatized miniseries. I would probably recommend watching the miniseries first, the one with Toni Collette.
Perfect, yeah.
Watching that first, that'll get you intrigued because it gives you some backstory and stuff that the documentary doesn't cover. That the documentary doesn't cover. The documentary is very heavily
You're really having trouble with that word, aren't you?
I think I've got to say it a few more times too. But that sort of focuses more on the court trial of it, while the miniseries, you get sort of the offshoots, you know, and it's dramatized. So you hope it's...
And I do have a tendency to do that. Like, do you know, what's the movie? I want to say Shooter, but I think it's wrong. What's the one with
American Sniper?
American Sniper. And after I saw that film, and I knew nothing about it in the media, saw the film because, again, my nan loves all this shit and she always makes me watch it with her, saw it, and I became obsessed because I knew it was based on a true, and I couldn't. And when the movie came out I think I watched it on video with her. I didn't see it at the cinema. By the time it was on video, streaming, whatever it was, do you know what I mean? Not at the cinema. The court case was happening. The court case was happening to the victim. And I went into a hole, like for days upon days, I was in this whole Wikipedia hole. I had to know everything because it was such a tragedy. And I reckon the staircase is going to be the same. I know the story a little bit.
But you want the drama, and then that's when you want to focus on all the facts.
And then you want to know all the facts, and you just want to research it yourself. Yeah.
It's the same as The Girl from Plainsville, which is on Stan. That was the same. We watched all of that, and then after that, I was obsessed with knowing more about the facts about it. So to recap what The Staircase is about, and for those who haven't heard anything about it, there are some spoilers, but it's all very common knowledge. In December 2001, novelist Michael Peterson called emergency services to report that his wife Kathleen had fallen down a set of stairs in their mansion and was severely injured.
A successful novelist?
I think so. And I think he had a big book deal. Well, he did have a big book deal that was hopefully going to land around the time of her death.
Right.
A war novelist. So anyway, that she was severely injured. And when he calls, he states that she's still bleeding, but there's blood everywhere. And he's in a serious panic, and he keeps dropping out the call and calling back because he's running to mop up the blood and try and get Kathleen alive and blah, 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 blah. He's in a serious panic, but when the authorities arrive, she's actually deceased. and she's laying at the bottom of the staircase in a huge pool of blood, and there's blood everywhere. There's blood on the walls, there's blood on the ceiling, there's a speck of blood that's inside his shorts that becomes into question. It's all very chaotic. So Michael advises that what he thought had happened at the time is that Kathleen, who was on Valium as well, must have accidentally fallen while drunk and knocked her head multiple times on the staircase, causing lacerations on her head and the subsequent blood loss. However, when the police arrive at the scene, they quickly become suspicious of the story, and given the amount of blood loss, which is why she ultimately dies, although there's no real determination of death, and they conclude that instead he had bludgeoned her to death, though an actual cause of death, as I said, is never determined in the end. After Kathleen's body is examined...
I have to say one thing, and I said it last time on the podcast. If the bones team from the Jeffersonian were there, they could determine if she fell down the staircase or if she got bashed in the head. They would know by the marks on the bone. They know every time. Bring the Jeffersonian team in. This is
why it's sort of hard to tell, and I'll get to that. So after Kathleen's body has been examined, it was suggested that she was bludgeoned to death with a blunt object. And with Michael being the only other person at the house at the time, he quickly became the prime suspect in the murder case, and he goes on trial. Michael has continued to maintain his innocence in the case.
I thought that he claims to be innocent,
to this very day, and he states that he and his wife were sat down at their pool. So they have a mansion, and the pool is like a fucking 100 or so meters away from the house.
And she had the wealth, didn't she? It was her wealth.
It was her wealth. Yes, you're dead right. And she owned the house, and everything. But yeah, so he claims that they'd watched a movie that night, High School Sweethearts, that they got from Blockbuster on video. They'd gone down to the pool. They were having a drink of wine. They were drinking wine under the stars when she decided she had to go back up to the house to do something. And after about half an hour, he went to find where she was. And that's when he found her in the pool of blood at the bottom of the stairs. A defense team, Recreation, claimed that Peter could not hear his wife's cries for help from such a distance. So if she had fallen or whatever had happened, he wouldn't have, when they had the screaming playing from the bottom of the staircase where the pool was, you couldn't hear it.
Right.
So that was part of the defense. Some crazy shit comes out during the trial, though. For instance, it was revealed that while Kathleen and Michael were living in Germany with their kids, his best friend's widow, the mother of his future adopted daughters, had died from an intracerebral hemorrhage, so a blood clot in the brain, followed by the body falling downstairs after collapsing, which resulted in head injuries similar to those sustained by Peterson's second wife. An investigation by German police and the US military authorities, because this chick who had the brain hemorrhage, her husband died in the Air Force. The US military authorities concluded that the death was accidental, and a subsequent exhumation, so when they bring the body up, which they did during the trial.
I'm aware of what exhumation is. Thank you for clarifying.
I just wasn't sure if I pronounced it okay. So I wanted to do
I could see the concentration on your face, and you were like, this is how drunk he is, guys.
That word.
No carbs will do that to you. No carbs and red wine.
So they exhumed the body during the trial of his
exhumation, if you will.
Exhumation. And they refuted the claim of an accidental death. So it wasn't an accident that lady died. She actually died from a blood clot and then fell down the stairs.
Gotcha.
The prosecution, Massachusetts, the prosecution introduced this death into the trial as an incident that may have given Peterson the idea of how to fake the true cause of Kathleen's death. During the trial.
True crush.
What did I say? The true
crush.
Introduced.
True crush.
Crushed. Murr. The prosecution introduced this
The
death.
tongue twister right there.
Fucking hell. Why so many big words, Sean? Into the trial as an incident that may have given Peterson the idea of how to fake the true cause of Kathleen's death. During the trial, Peterson's 2 adopted daughters, who were the ones that were the kids of the lady who had the brain club, supported their father's version, as did the other children.
Can I ask a question? So how many children? So he took on those children because their mother and the father had died and it was his best friend.
They were good friends.
Allegedly. Yes. So
yeah,
there was a bunch of children. So they went on to have their own children, though, him and Kathleen?
No, so they didn't have any children together, but they had children previously.
So she had children
marriages.
from her marriage, and he had the adopted children, but none of his own children.
That's right. So it was like a very big blended family.
Gotcha.
So during the trial, Peterson's 2 adopted daughters supported their father or his versions of the death.
Mm-hmm.
He also had 2 sons to an ex-wife that supported his
so he had 2 biological sons as well.
Yes, which is the one that Patrick Schwarzenegger plays. Fucking, why do these words have to be Patrick Schwartz played? But while Kathleen
the first time.
While Kathleen's daughter from her first marriage, as well as Kathleen's 2 sisters, soon grew suspicious and split from the family because they believe he did it. During the trial as well, the question of Peterson's sexuality comes into play, as from the computers that they seized, they got thousands of pornographic pictures of men and email history between Peterson and call guys that he used to hook up with. He was a bit of a root rat. The prosecution argued that Kathleen discovered Michael's bisexuality and pursuit of sexual intrigue with men, which led into an argument that ended in Michael bludgeoning his wife to death. They explore this well in the recent miniseries, and one of the call guys who they questioned to get more intel on with Peterson states how, when they're saying to him, did he fuck you? Did this happen? What happened? Blah, blah, blah. The police are interrogating the shit out of this guy. And he says, he responds by saying, there's plenty of guys in power that I could reveal the names of that I've dealt with to the police if you want me to. Yeah. And it's insinuated that some of them are police and or politicians in the area. So they drop it. They're just like, no, we don't need to know, because there's high people that this call guy slept with. And then there's another twist that involves this person, but I don't want to spoil that for everyone. So you can watch that.
So do the miniseries first, you reckon?
100%. I do the 8-part miniseries because a 13-part documentary of an hour each is a big commitment.
Yeah.
And if you're not interested, or if you don't know sort of all the bits and pieces, you're not going to be, you can lose interest in it.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. So Peterson claimed at first that Kathleen knew about this and was okay with his indiscretions with men, but later he admits that his wife actually did not know about his sexuality, but that she would have been fine with it if she did.
That's a big call tonight.
It is a big call. Peterson also ends up having a relationship with a woman who is, during the trial, who was heavily involved in the production of the documentary. Is that your first bottle?
Yeah, but that's how much is left. I'm also hungover.
Oh, yeah, true. That's all I've got left.
Well, I'm just about to pour this, and you've still got that much left.
And you were doing the talk in the first part, which is when you do the other person drinks. I get it. Okay, God.
I'm not going to pour the whole thing actually, because we're going up. And full disclosure, I'm going up the pub as soon as this podcast is finished. I'm going to hang out with my husband at our local, because we've been hanging to do it at the local.
It'll be fun. It had the dirty
so we're going to get more drunk tonight, and then I'm going to back up tomorrow.
Anyway, so Peterson ends up having a relationship with a woman during his trial who's heavily involved in the production of the documentary. And
So was
so
bisexual
many,
or was he faking a bit of the time?
well, bisexual, because he had a healthy sexual relationship with Kathleen as well. But there's so many more
Dirty
weird little
dog.
twists that just appear throughout this thing. It's just intriguing. The jury ultimately convicted Peterson in the first trial, and when he was sentenced to life in prison, However, the verdict was later overturned in 2011 when the judge ruled that one of the prosecution's main witnesses lied under oath. So he was a blood spatter expert who was employed by the State Bureau of Investigation. This is fucked. What the fuck do I have this many words? I should have gone first. Apparently, the jury.
The red wine would do it every time, especially if you haven't been having any
I haven't had it for, yeah. Apparently, the jury were originally split over Michael's guilt or innocent, but relied on this guy's blood spatter testimony, which led to their guilty verdict, saying that the blood spatter was reflective of someone being beaten over the head, not someone who had fallen. So do you remember Dexter, who was a blood spatter expert?
Yes.
So that type of shit. So they do this thing where they have a fucking head full of fucking fake blood and they beat it so many times in so many different circumstances to see where the blood
where it goes. Yeah.
So he said it was reflective of someone who was beaten and who had not fallen. It comes out though that he actually had no training in forensics. Actually is how you just meld the words had actually. It's a thing. He actually had no training in forensics at all and exaggerated his credentials, for fuck's sake, and lied on the stand about his practical experience. Oh, God. This is why true crime is always done without so much booze. This is basically true crime. Fucking hell, give me some sourdough stat.
Oh, I'm dying.
So this guy actually had no training in forensics at all and exaggerated his credentials and lied on the stand about his practical experience.
Why would he do that though? What's in it for him?
Okay, so he claimed he had visited hundreds of crime scenes when in fact he'd visited 17. So due to this and other incidents of lab misconduct, the FBI audited the SBI, the State Bureau of Investigation, and found that the lab had withheld results that would be favorable to the defense in literally hundreds of cases. So that's why they did it, to make the defense win. So convictions across the state were re-examined and many, including Peterson's, were overturned. So Michael was released from prison, awaiting a retrial while being monitored under court monitoring.
And it was going to take like no monitoring and supervision policies at all. It's like,
that type of shit. It's just
you swing a cat, mate, and fucking there's just so many situations where people have just gotten away with impersonating stuff or fabricating things, or
it makes what do they call it? Attorney General of the is that what they call? Is that what they call the person over there that does the defense person that's elected? They show that they've solved so many cases and it's on their fucking resume, basically. And so they fake it.
Then if it's not genuine, how could you go to sleep every night? Like, how could you actually go to sleep every night and be like, oh yeah, because I fudged the
just
figures.
Because of your hunch. Oh yeah, no, he definitely did it. So yeah, we're just going to make it work that he did it.
Insane.
Yeah, it's bullshit. So he's released from prison, awaiting a retrial under court monitoring, and it's going to take years before they do a retrial. And now it's a fact that blood spatter analysis, which used to be a very dominant field of forensics, is now considered almost complete junk science.
Yeah, I could see that because I could see the variables that could be included in that is like there's so many.
Yeah.
There's so many variations that could change that.
Exactly. And the way that blood, something splats up against the wall.
So did you say he's waiting to be convicted again, or he's out?
So they overthrew his trial and he was awarded the retrial. So because of that, they had to release him. But he was under court monitoring during that time. So in 2017, he was then presented with another option. And rather than return to prison, he reluctantly agrees to the often contested and controversial Alfred Plea. Have you heard of the Alfred Plea?
I haven't, no.
So it's something that's in America, and it's where you plead to voluntary manslaughter, and it's a mandate in the US penal system which allows someone to plead guilty while maintaining their innocence. So you could plead guilty to voluntary manslaughter. You plead guilty to voluntary. Oh my god.
Voluntary.
To voluntary manslaughter.
So many new phrases. Voluntary.
So you plead guilty to voluntary manslaughter, but maintain your innocence based on the fact that the evidence suggests the evidence is overwhelming in suggesting that you're guilty, but you use Alfred Plea to say that you're pleading guilty, but you maintain your innocence. And it's happened in a lot of cases where there's another great one, which I'll do as a pop culture true crime.
I hate that.
Well, they do it in places where people who are actually innocent but have been fucking snowed under by shit like this SBI shit of fake information or manipulated evidence, where the only way for them to get out of jail is to do the Alfred Plea and say that they're guilty, so they can't then charge the state for fucking wrongful imprisonment and get a award payout. So they get their freedom, but they're saying they're guilty while maintaining their innocence.
Oh my God, that's atrocious. Terrible. I hate it.
So the Alfred Plea often results in a sentence either being reduced to time served and allows the state to consider the case closed. So they'll close the case, even though they know this person's innocent, and then not pursue other fucking who the actual real murderer is. And that's happened in a lot of ones.
See, this is the thing that always bothers me about stuff like this, is that like it ends up being focused on the person who ended up not being accountable for it, and no one's looking for the real killer. All that manpower goes into this one person, and they find out that they're actually wrong and they're fucked up, and they're all the money that's spent on that anyway. But then there's still a murderer out there.
Exactly.
It's despicable.
So after Michael's charge was reduced, his sentence was also reduced to time already served, and he was released from custody, allowing him to end his time in prison and walk away a free man. So as we know, there are two theories surrounding Kathleen Peterson's cause of death.
So he's a free man right now.
He's a free man. There's two theories around her death. The most obvious and widely held is that Michael bludgeoned her with a fireplace tool or a blowpoke, causing scalp lacerations and knocking her down the stairs. The blowpoke was apparently a gift from Kathleen's sister and was missing from the house at the time of the death.
What was his motive, though? What was his actual motive?
They're saying that the motive was she'd found his emails of homosexuality and all that shit.
She was going to flick him and then he'd get nothing.
She flicked the lid. Well, they were currently at the time, and you'll see this in the miniseries as well, they were going through a bad time. They were on the verge of divorce.
Right.
So they also think that,
a lot of horrible emotions come up when you're going through a divorce.
And then she's found this gay stuff, apparently, confronted him, maybe going to out him. He's gone fucking ballistic, beat the shit out of her. And then, so with a blowpoke. And a blowpoke, it's a hollow tube that could suggest that they caused the lacerations on the head without fracturing her skull. So when she died, she had no skull fractures. So your bones people wouldn't have been able to have found that. And it was the first case where someone
people.
It was the first case where someone had been classified as bludgeoned to death without any skull fractures.
Excuse me, it's the Jeffersonian Institute. It's a renowned institute, okay? They know everything. They're scientists. They're experts in their field.
But there was no head fractures in there, skull fractures, which is usually caused when someone's bludgeoned to death, skull fractures. So the house is searched at the time as well, but the potential murder weapon is never found. They never found a murder weapon. Until weeks after the trial had started, the blowpoke that was apparently gifted to them by the Kathleen sister is found collecting dust in the basement, blood-free. There's no
the thing
blood
that was
or
missing,
trace.
so it was missing, and they thought it was missing, but then they found it, and it was
in the
fine.
basement. Yeah, and there was no blood on it. And apparently years later, it was also learned that the police allegedly knew the fire poke wasn't the murder weapon from the start, even though they used that as their defense.
Oh my God.
The second theory is that Kathleen was under the influence of Valium and pills and simply tripped going up the staircase and fell down. And then as she was falling down, she had blood and she was trying to get up and she was slipping in the blood and kept falling and shit like that. But then there's a third, more sensational theory, which is death by owl.
Owl?
Now bear with me. Yeah. It was suggested by the Petersons' former neighbour, a lawyer named Larry Pollard, who brought the idea to Michael's defence team that Kathleen may have gone outside, been attacked by an owl, and run back inside in a panic, slipping on the staircase. It seems ridiculous, and I get this, but not entirely out of the question.
Was there a lot of owls around?
So it just may be unlikely, but not out of the question. But it's freaky shit. But I always think freaky shit happens all the time. There can be one-off stuff. There's always a 1 in a million shit, right?
I agree.
So
I agree with
anyways,
that.
there was enough circumstantial evidence to not entirely dismiss the death by owl theory, including the facts that
I like to believe in good rather than bad too, as well, most of the time. Like, if you can sway me, I'm like, shit happens. Again, Bones.
And when you're that convicted to your fucking innocence, and he was in jail originally for fucking like...
And there's stories as long as our fucking arms about the people who have been convicted in the wrong way and they were completely innocent. So...
Yeah, and he was in jail for 10 years.
That's why I don't believe in the death penalty ultimately, because it's
even though there's people you'd like to see get a bullet.
You saw them do it and you know that they did it, but then there's all those other people who end up getting killed for a murder that they were wrongly convicted of.
And there's a lot of cases where people are found innocent after they've been
100%.
Had it. So these are the facts that support. So as I was saying, there was enough circumstantial evidence to not entirely dismiss this death by owl theory. So these are some of the facts. The lacerations on her head would match the claw marks of the barred owl. So BARRED owl. Barred owls, they were living in the woods near the Petersons' house. They're known to be aggressive during mating season, which it was at the time. Barred owls have been known to attack people. There were drops of blood outside the walkway at the front of their house. And there was a smear of blood on the outside of the front door frame.
So who came up with that?
So that was their neighbour, their former neighbour,
right. So
who was a lawyer.
He didn't see a barn. So he didn't see an owl, though, the guy who's trying to fight for his life.
He knew there were owls. He knew that. Oh, no. He didn't see it. They brought this to his neighbour brought it as this is potential.
The defence going, this is an other thing that may have happened.
Yeah, and it was a neighbour. It wasn't even the defence. It was a former lawyer. But the lacerations on her head matched a claw mark, as in like the three going in. Yeah. There was drops of blood on the outside walkway, which I don't know how that got there. There was a smear of blood on the outside of the door frame. A feather was found on her body, and there was like a little feather in her hair.
Stop.
And there was strands of Kathleen's hair, which had been pulled out rather than torn or cut, so pulled from the root, found in dried blood on her hands. So it's suggesting that the owl's attacking her and she's pulling out her hair, trying to get the fucking thing off. She's ended up with hair in her hands.
She's full of drink. She's full of Valium. And she's on a staircase.
So the way they do it, there's also, the lawyer shows it's around Christmas time. and they had these reindeers that are full of lights, you know, those ones that lawn decorations.
Yeah.
The day before she died, they weren't out on the lawn. The day after she died, they were on the lawn, and Michael Peterson didn't put them there. So what they try to suggest is that as she's come up from the pool having a wine, she's gone to put the reindeers out the front. While she's out there doing that, a barred owl has attacked her. She's reached for a hair. She's going to run back inside. That's why the blood's in the outside walkway. That's why there's a smear of blood on the outside of the front door frame. That's why she's got a feather in there. That's why she's got hands in her hair. She's gone inside and she started walking up the stairs disorientated and just thinking, what the fuck? Slipped down and then fucking slipped in her blood and all that shit. And that's how the lacerations have occurred. Yeah. So that's a theory. And barred owls are known to owl experts to attack people out of the blue, unprovoked, with no warning.
Like
although barred owls,
magpie.
yes, exactly, plovers. Although barred owls are known to attack and have sharp talons and beaks, the death of a human from an attack remains extremely unlikely. The thing that the miniseries does really well, the dramatized one, is it plays out all three scenarios of what could have happened and what was presented to the courts. So throughout the series, when these theories come up, you see it happen. And Toni Collette has to go through each set of deaths. And she does it so fucking well, man.
Stop it.
So you see her act every single scene of what the scenarios could have been.
So
the acting.
What about, so in comparison to The Undoing, we've talked about it. What do you think? Is it better than The Undoing?
Only because there's a truth to it.
Yes.
The Undoing had more mystery and, like, you know, sort of a lot of twists. This has got a lot of twists, but it's just real. Yeah. So it just has that whole fucking
I never want to think of Colin Firth as the bad guy, and I feel like in lots of ways that they cast him makes the public more sympathetic. If this guy's guilty of it, the fact that Colin Firth plays that role means we're all going to just be like, Colin Firth is the bomb diggity.
Well, this is what I'm going to... So this is what I'll say. So the acting is so on point in the series. Colin Firth is amazing.
Oh,
and has one of those performances where you actually forget that you're watching Colin Firth. You don't even realize it's him. He's got the American accent. It's brilliant. It's totally worth the watch.
It's got an American accent.
Yeah. It's totally worth the watch. It'll spark your interest in the Netflix docuseries, which is a mission to get through and involves a hell of a lot of courtroom proceedings, but still interesting as fuck. But it's very similar to Making a Murderer. Have you even watched that yet?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Skye. Where in the end, you don't have a solid answer and you're still torn as, did he do it? Did she slip? Or was it the motherfucking owl?
But this is the thing. I like a good versus evil. I like a clear cut. I know what I know. Do you know what I mean? Like, I hate those situations where you're ending up going, who's in the wrong? It really makes me feel bad about the human race. Like, I just feel really
But that's
bad.
like an unsolved mystery, isn't it?
I hate unsolved mysteries. I hate them, but I'm obsessed with them. I'm obsessed.
Yeah. Because it just leads your brain going on the thing.
Yeah.
And so many people
call
the owl theory.
I want to solve them all myself. Just give me some tools. Give me the Jeffersonian and I'll fix
them. Give me my Jeffersonian. But that's, there's so many people that just bar humbug at the owl theory. But I think it's actually quite legit. Like the feather, the talon marks.
I think it's outrageous, but perhaps.
Outrageous happens.
Yeah. It would be horrible for this guy to be persecuted the way that he has been, to seriously actually be that innocent, and actually it was an owl. But then also the fact that there was another woman before that really hurt his case, didn't it? That really fucked him up.
Yes. Yeah, that was when it came out. And he didn't tell his lawyers about that at the beginning too. They're like, dude. He's like, what?
Should we just end this one?
Yeah, and then we'll be 2 minutes.
And scene, motherfucker.
Ooh.
Well, thanks for listening to this week's episode of Pop Culture. We hope you enjoyed our dive into Ricki Lake's historic legacy and the mystery that is the staircase. Ooh.
Ooh. Ooh. Tune in next week when we go back in time.
Time.
And we go a hell of a long way back that time, next week, to ancient Egypt and the Roman Empire. What part? Well, you have to tune in to find out.
How many parts are there?
Well, that Roman Empire was a pretty big period. I think
Mhm.
Egypt was too. Share, like, subscribe, and tell your mates about the podcast you love where your hosts get drunk and talk interesting shit for at least an hour or so.
We're so drunk. Bye, stupid bitches.
Bye. At least we remembered to record that one.
Oh my God. I'm so drunk. I'm going out now.
Yeah, that stupid bitch. He's a stupid bitch. What a stupid bitch. That stupid bitch.